Alright, here's part 2 of the Sierra front end. Upper control arm, ball joint, lower ball joint, outer tie rod end, and sway bar lengths. Alright, if you haven't watched part 1, I'm going to link to it right here. Watch that, come back and watch this, or just watch this, whatever you want to do. Alright, let's go ahead and continue on. It's going to go pretty much like that. And because I use a larger receiving cup, it's not vitally important to have it entirely centered. Obviously you want to do the best you can. But the bottom one that's pushing, we want to have that fairly centered, okay? Alright, I'm just going to go nice and slow, and I'm going to use a pipe for added leverage. And we should be watching this gap here, and this gap should basically close up with every turn almost. Nice and slow. And you can see it is going. It's going rather easily as well. This new ball joint uses a circlip to hold it in place, so we won't have to peen the edge over. We just need to get it up through, obviously high enough to get that circlip in place. So we really want to close this gap up all the way. Get a little bit more tense. Still not too bad. Check out this ball joint kit from Astro down below. I mean, I think it's worth it. If you use it once, you've probably paid for it. They have a couple of different kits. This is the master kit. Okay, that looks pretty good right there. I don't want to overdo it because I don't want to break anything. Okay. Hopefully you can see the gap has closed. Now I'm just going to release the clamp and we'll see how we did. See if we can get the circlip on. Looks good to me. Let me grab the circlip. Alright, so you can see the groove that the circlip sits into, so we're certainly up through the control arm enough. I'm going to use this circlip tool here to get this installed. Now you could use needle nose pliers. I've even used a screwdriver to get one side on and snap it around, but tools like this, they just pay for themselves over time. I mean, it doesn't take very long. You use it once or twice and you've paid for it, right? So, let's see if we can get this thing on here without blocking the shot. Okay, just like that. Now you might want to take a screwdriver and go around it. I know it snapped into place because I felt it, but you can take a screwdriver and go around the outside to make sure it's down in all the way, but I know this one is because it's closed up. Okay? Alright, so now we need to remove this little plug here and install our grease zerk. And we're in pretty good shape here. Alright, I'm going to get this started by hand here. Sometimes the threads on these are not that great. But with Moog, you're in good shape usually. Alright, this is a 10mm here. Let's wind it in. And I'm going to set this grease zerk so that I can get... Basically, I want it to be like that. I'm going to wind it in a couple more times. But I want it to head to the front of the vehicle so I can easily grease these without removing the wheel or anything. And you want to get it down in there. This will be the last time around here. Nice and slow. And basically like that. Alright. Cooking with gas here. Alright, so at this point, I've got my axle propped up with a wire brush here just a little bit. Keeps it from flopping around too much. We need to lift our steering knuckle up into the lower ball joint and try to get the axle in. Then we're going to push it back for the upper ball joint. So you can also remove your rotor if this is too heavy for you. We'll see how it goes here. Alright, so I have it in place here. I've got the axle nut just kind of on so it doesn't fall off. And I've got the nut on the lower ball joint. I'm just going to tighten it up by hand here. Then we'll get the top one in place. And you want to be guiding the steering knuckle so as it goes up, it'll be lined up with the upper ball joint. Alright. Now what we'll use is our bottle jack to raise this up into place. Okay, I've got wire also holding the knuckle. That helped out as I was getting the nuts on. Alright, I've got a little bit of electrical tape on the threads here just because We don't want to ding those up as we jack this into place. All right, so we're just going to help guide this along here, and we're going to use our bottle jack to raise it up. And again, try to get the ball joint stud as lined up as possible so that you're not dinging up the threads. And we're just going to go up slow here. All right. I can push that control arm down into place. All right, let me get the nut on there, finger tight, and then we'll torque them down. All right, so I can't really torque this upper one down because I can't get my torque wrench in there. So the instructions say 37 foot-pounds and then an extra 100 degrees beyond that. And I think that just gives you room to get your cotter pin in. So I'm pretty much lined up there. Now what I've done, I'm probably over 37, is I hook 2 wrenches together like this, and I've done this a million times in other videos, and give it an extra little oomph. And that lines us up here pretty well, okay? Let me get my cotter pin real quick. We'll get that popped into place. All right, 37, and then an extra 130 degrees on this one. All right. All right, let me see how the cotter pin hole lines up here. All right, we've got that lined up pretty well. Now we'll move on to the tie rod end. Then we'll do our sway bar link, and we'll put our caliper on. We'll grease everything up, and we're done. All right, let's get that done real quick. All right, so what I did before I removed the tie rod end is I just measured the distance from the end of the jam nut to the threads where the threads stop. Okay, again, I just want to get it down the road to get it aligned. You can mark it other ways too. I've used Teflon tape and different things. All right, right about there. Okay, now I'll wind the tie rod end on. Hopefully this video has been helpful. It's been quite a job. But I figured if I'm going to get an alignment, I might as well get all this stuff done because honestly, as you can see, one part affects another when you're taking things apart just to do the lower ball joint. This is a 24 millimeter on that jam nut too, by the way. And obviously we want this pointing downward. I'm not going to take my vice grips off yet because we're going to need that in just a minute here when we tighten the jam nut down. Let me go one more time here. Okay. And I do have a video where I lined do the toe-in adjustment with string. So that's a pretty cool way to line things up. Let me do that. Alright. So what we need to do is tighten our jam nut just a little bit more. And let me get the nut and the cotter pin for this tie rod end real quick. Alright, this one gets tightened down to 26 foot-pounds and then an additional 90 degrees, which is a quarter turn. Again, you're going to need to, with these Moog, you're going to want to line up the cotter pin hole. So, alright, there's 26. Now we need to go an additional 90 degrees, which is a quarter turn. Alright, let's see where we are in terms of the cotter pin hole here. Just about there. Right there, I can see it. A little more. It's right there. I'm just going to nudge it just a little bit. All right. All right, let's put our caliper back on. All right, so these should slide on fairly easily. We didn't add any thickness. We didn't add new pads or new rotor, but obviously now would be the time to do that stuff if you needed them. Okay, these are the 18 millimeter bolts on the back here. We'll get them ratchet tight and then we'll torque them down. All right, these caliper bracket bolts get torqued down to 170. This one's tough to do because it's underneath the wheel well. And I'm probably right in the way here. Alright, now we need to hook up our brake hose bracket, our ABS sensor, and hit it with grease, alright? Alright, this again was 10mm, just holding this little brake hose bracket down, and crank that down. We're not going to bother with the torque spec on it. Don't break it, alright? Then we got our ABS sensor here, and that sat in the top part of that bracket, like that. And then we went up in here, and again I have a close-up of this connection on the wheel bearing video, so check that out. Hopefully this video has been helpful. I don't know how many it'll actually be. Videos, I guess, is what we'll say. At least 2 probably, but give me that thumbs up on each of them if you did find them helpful. And if you want to see more of this type of stuff, hit that subscribe button if you're not a subscriber. I do ATV repair, auto repair, home improvement, electrical work, you name it, I do it. Alright, now we're going to grab the grease gun. We got upper, lower, and we've got tie rod end, and then we've got this sway bar link. I promise you I'd do that. That's going to be quick and painless. Alright, let me just get everything greased up real quick and then we'll bang that one out. Alright. And I just hit it till I start to see the boot expand. You don't want to overfill it, but I want to make sure the grease in there. Let me hit the lower one real quick and then we'll do that sway bar link. Alright, we'll stick a punch in the rotor here. 188 for this. Make sure it's on there square because it'll be a lot of torque. Alright, that's it. Alright, let's hit that sway bar link real quick. Alright, so this is 15mm on the top and the bottom. I may have to move my jack. Nope, I'm good. Okay, I still have the bottle jack supporting the lower control arm. And I'm going to use a wrench on the top. I'm going to use my impact. Alright. Alright, at this point I'm going to lower the control arm to take some of the pressure off that sway bar link. See if we can get it to drop out. There it goes. Hopefully you can see it. Alright, let's get the new one installed. Alright, here we go. We're going to start with a washer and a bushing. The bushing is pointing upward, okay, toward the control arm. Then we come up. We have a bushing pointing downward. We have a washer. We have this centerpiece. You could use the original, but this one's metal, so I kind of like this one better. Okay. And we have a washer. I'm trying to show this. It's pretty self-explanatory. Then we've got this piece going upward, this bushing. Okay. Now we've got another bushing on the top pointing downward. So the bushings all point into the holes, and then we've got this nut here that also has a washer head on it, okay? That one threads down. Alright, so after reading the instructions of this Moog sway bar link, it's a little bit different. We're not going to torque it down to 17 foot-pounds like we would an OEM. You're going to make sure that the threads are flush with the top of the nut, and from that point you're going to turn 2 full revolutions, which is going to expose 2 to 3 threads at the top of the bolt, okay? Hey, thanks for watching. Give me that thumbs up if you found these videos helpful, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you're not a subscriber, right? Leave questions and comments below, and have fun. There's a quarter, there's a half, 3/4, and 1, and I'm going to do another full revolution, and we'll be done. Hey, thanks for watching. Take it easy.